First, though, she's a Toronto-based singer-songwriter whose newest album is called Sorry I'm Late. Rosanne Baker Thornley joining us on Canada Now. Rosanne, it's great to have you on the show.
Great to be here.
Thanks for doing this. This is a long time coming. I've been a fan of yours for a very long time, and we kind of know the same people, as it has turned out. What a small world.
Small circle.
And now, finally, you can avoid me no longer. I've pulled you in. I've sucked you into the show, and I appreciate it. So is this album sort of your musical memoir?
It probably is. Every song on it is definitely based in a truth or something in my life. It is a journal. It's definitely a journal of things that have happened, people I've met, things I've felt. That's all. It's like a journal. So
what had you look back as much as you did for the album? I mean, is it on purpose, or is it like, well, I'm writing and this is what's coming out of me?
Well, I write a lot with other artists as well.
Yeah.
But my last album was 28 years ago.
No.
That's a long time ago. It was called Courage. And at that point in time, I decided to just step back for a little bit, just a little bit.
Just for almost 3 decades. Just
3 decades. I live in my life still playing, but then I very much intentionally, in between all of that, I stepped into writing with other artists, which I love doing. Mm-hmm. There's something, and I'm quite grateful for some of the people I get to write with. They're just amazing. So in between all of that, I was always writing. Like, I never stopped writing for myself. I just didn't think I was going to do my own artistry anymore as far as being outward with it, you know? And then it came to a point where I just wanted to be current. That was what it was. It was like, I'm writing with all these other people, but I do have this song and I do have that song. And I wanted to be the current version of me just because I wanted to do it.
Yeah. Good for you.
And yeah. And you know what? It feels good. It feels good because it feels authentic and real. It's like, why are you doing it? Because I want to.
Yes. Yeah. No, you're not meeting some deadline. I mean, unless 30 years was the cutoff, you're not meeting some deadline. Well, it's so funny to hear that, because your name just comes up so often. Like when you hear a song, you've written it or you've done something with it. You're in and around so many people, which is something I wanted to get to in a moment in what you get from working with other people. But to talk about specifically the songs on this album, like, I love how your stories can be so personal, but it's like they're about you, but they're so relatable to everybody else. I guess that's what you strive for.
Well, you know what? It was funny because when I was talking to Mark Kelso, who played on my album, drummer, and he came in to play on Her Mother's Eyes. And he said, he played on my first album as well. And he said, why so long in between albums? And I got to say, there was like a rush of information and life that went through in my head. And I just looked at him and said, life.
Yeah.
I was living my life and doing this and that and finding those songs. I mean, I was, you know, as I said, writing songs in between everything and going, that's not a bad one, you know?
No, I'm sure not. But what was it? So was it because these songs, this collection of songs, would have been so personal to you that's why you chose to present them yourself?
Yeah. And you know what? It really started with one song I wrote that's not even on the album, called I Am Poetry. Oh. And I'd written the song and I thought, I'll get someone else to sing it. And I had somebody else sing it and they did a nice job, but it didn't feel right. So I had someone else sing it and someone else sing it and someone else sing it. So finally, the producer I was working with at that point in time, Ted Onishuk, said, maybe this is your song. And I said, oh, no, not my song. I'm kind of past that now, and I'm on to this other world of writing with people. He was like, no, I think it's your song. So I recorded that one. And another friend of mine who I was always getting to having lunch with, Blair Packham, he said, so when are you doing the album? I said, I'm not doing an album. I'm doing one song. He said, yep. I said, seriously, I'm just going to do one. And then, yeah, it just all sort of fell into place. And I had the songs. I was lucky enough to also get a Factor grant, which was extremely helpful in all of this during, over COVID. And I just decided to put it out and title it Sorry I'm Late, which came very last minute as what I was going to call it, but it just made sense.
Well, Sorry I'm Late. The album, that's what it's called. And and it's the final track of the album. That's not a tip of the cap to, I'm sure, it being 28 years since your last album. What was it? Are you saying that to yourself? You're not saying it to anybody else. Are you saying that to yourself because life can happen and things can happen? Maybe this is because right now I've got 2 small kids, so I feel like I am the last person I'm always thinking about. But are you saying, sorry, I'm late, because you're saying it to yourself because you haven't been present for yourself for a very long time?
No. See, it's interesting because people have a different take on the song. So just by you saying, with example, you have 2 kids, right? Everybody gets, this is the plan. That's where we're going, right?
Yeah.
Oh, but then there's all the sidebars to life. And you're really enjoying them. Like, you're enjoying, for the most part, the 2 children. But it takes you on another course that you didn't exactly, so you don't know how you get to where you get sometimes. So with Sorry I'm Late, for me, it was really about writing the song to say, yeah, I'm sorry I'm late, but I've been busy. Like, it wasn't so much apologetic. It certainly isn't a sad song to me. It's going, I've been doing all this stuff. One line, I had to raise the kid. I had to walk the dog. Wow. Yeah. And also my line, I had 28 years that I know that saved me. Or 25 years, sorry. 25 years that I know that saved me.
Yeah.
That's talking about my daughter. Because, the music business it's a challenging business.
Sure.
And my daughter definitely was a big light in my life. And I didn't expect, when I put out my first album, I was all good. It was like, I'm doing this. I had Sony behind me and all was good. And my daughter was born during all of that. I was all good, saying to my manager, don't worry, I got this. We're good. My passion changed. And when your passion changes, especially in this business, it's hard to follow something you don't have a passion for a while. And it did. Mine dipped, and it was all of a sudden this beautiful daughter I had. Right? That's what happens. And so I got off the course a little bit, and not regretfully by any means. And then as I said, life goes on and you build whatever you're building. And then I got back to doing my own artistry again.
How does that feel? And I don't want to come off sounding like I'm a bitter parent that, and is not getting enough attention or something like that. But like, I'm in this period of my life where it's about the kids. Like, look, I mean, I'm doing this. I'm happy. Like, professionally speaking, I get to do things. I get to talk to you today. I love doing this every day. So I'm not, this doesn't come from a place of, oh, woe is me.
No.
But I mean, being a parent, and any parent out there would know, it's a large chunk of your time, like a large chunk of your energy. You don't feel like you could take a lot of things on. You could do just enough to keep yourself happy, and then you want to focus on making others happy. And it's not to say you're done parenting, but if your kid's a bit older,
it never stops.
That's what I've been told. So you still worry, you still do all those things, but you're not a chauffeur anymore. There's a lot of things that you're not doing anymore, and you hopefully your kid is up and self-sufficient in doing her own thing. So do you feel now at this point of your life that you can feed yourself more often? You can do more for yourself?
Yes, and to the point of the way I stepped back into music, like full on again, was I had an opportunity to write 6 songs in 6 weeks. I thought, oh, there's a songwriting challenge. It was a Songwriters Association. I thought, you know what? That might be fun to write 6 songs in 6 weeks. I could do that. And honestly, it was like a switch went back on in my head. And to the point where I remember driving to the studio to record a song for this challenge and saying to myself out loud in the car, where did you go? Because it was so much back to that particular persona, which is such an important part of me. It is an important part of me, but I was so in love with everything else and busy and doing this and that. And you know what? It was good. It's good.
Do you hear what you're putting out, and do you pat yourself on the back? Do you go, wow, I'm actually good at this. Like I put this down for so long, I have forgotten just how good I can be at this.
Yeah. And you know what? It's like when you're not doing something, you're always sort of in the back of your mind going, I should do it. I should do it. I should do it. Even if it's not, you don't hear it all the time. It's there. I am now in a place of calm with it. It's like, oh yeah, I did that, and it feels good. And people ask me, why did you put out an album now? I mean, I'm a little longer on, I'm not in my 20s anymore, but I don't think the ability to write or to share your life ever goes away as a writer. I mean, I probably couldn't do ballet so much anymore, but I definitely can still write a song. And I think I'm able to go deeper because of all the experiences I can speak to. That's massive. I remember writing one day with an artist and they said to me, wow, how is it you understand exactly how I feel? And I thought, yeah, how is that? And then in the afternoon, I was somebody else and they're going, how is it you understand how I feel? And I'm going, holy, it's because I've been living a little while.
Yes. Yes. Well,
I've lived it.
It's interesting. I'm going to be speaking with the actor, director, Zach Braff. I'm going to be talking to him. And I'm going to be talking to him about a new film he put out called A Good Person. And it's about loss. It's about grief, at least in big part. And, he's only done a couple of movies. And his first movie, Garden State, was back in 2004. And, it's about, the characters are like in their 20s, right? And like he's writing these, he doesn't write many, but he's writing these films about the periods of his life. This is where I am right now. And I feel it kind of mirrors what you're doing right now, because saying goodbye, coping with loss seems to be a recurring theme in the album as we get older. I know I've gone through it. As you get older, those things happen. You start saying goodbye to a lot of people. Do those feelings most prompt you to put pen to paper?
I would say in a lot of those instances, it's because, like, for instance, Give Me One More Night was a song I wrote. And I actually wrote it for the acoustic guitar project that I'm the curator for in Toronto.
Yeah.
And when I had the guitar, I was going to write a happy song. That was my plan. I am writing a happy song. Well, a week before I got the guitar to write the song, a good friend of mine went out to play hockey. And he had a heart attack and collapsed on the ice. So he never came home. And I got to say, I sat there with that guitar going, that happy song is a long ways away from me now. And I just started playing some chords, and I was so pulled into the moment of, now it was not my moment in that instance, but it was in other instances. But in this instance, I was looking through his wife's eyes at going, I thought this was, because I thought this was going to be forever. And all of a sudden it was, just give me one more night. I didn't tell you everything. And I think that's and whenever I've played it live anywhere, I've said to people, if you love somebody, tell them now. If you care about them, tell them now. Send them flowers now. All those things, because I don't know if we do that enough. I don't know if we stop to go, I really like you.
Yeah.
And
true.
I think it's important. So that's Give Me One More Night was that idea. Barely, which is another song, was a friend of mine, again, who lost her husband. But I also know this from all the instances. It also relates to my life, to all of these, but I sometimes build them through other people's eyes as far as how it resonates with me. And Barely was all about everything in the house that was part of you slowly going, I'm almost down to that last bag of tea. And that was your favorite tea. I'm down to that last spritz in the cologne. I put it on so it reminds me of you. And it was almost gone. That's Barely. I can barely feel you.
Yeah.
What else is there another one about loss in there? Yeah. I don't know. There's just
those are a couple of great examples. And, like you talk about that, and like about how one can be lost all of a sudden. You weren't expecting it. Right. And my dad passed away from Alzheimer's almost a couple years ago now. And I remember being with my mom. I take her to the cemetery like every month to visit.
Yeah.
And the first few times we'd go, she would talk to me and say, I thought we'd have more time. Like, she spoke to me with such shock that he was gone. And Alzheimer's is like a Band-Aid that rips off so slowly. Like, we all saw this coming, I know. But it doesn't make it any easier. And she talked to me about how she regretted this and regretted that, and she wished she had said this, wished she had said that. And it just seems like no matter what. So that you're right. You got to appreciate who you have right now, because you never know how much time you're going to have.
Well, it's like looking on the upside of things, right? It's like it changes your whole perspective on things if you stop wallowing. You get lost in it, and it's okay. That's what I remember. I was talking to somebody at one point during COVID, and they were so upset about the loss and everything that was going on. And I said, it's fine to be in those moments. You have to be in those moments. You just can't live in them all the time.
Right.
But you got to go there, because that's all the emotion. It's so critical to who we are as people, is to feel. And that's really what that came out of. All those things come out of, right?
You mentioned the acoustic guitar project in which you are the curator. That first song, you're the founder and head songwriter of that, a founder of the Collaborators.
Yeah.
8 in the middle of that, a group of 8 Canadian songwriters sharing their co-writing insights. What is it about working with other artists and helping them fully realize their own vision? What is it about that does it for you?
Well, you know what? I find that in some instances, I'm a bit of a different songwriter at times from some, because I'm not in a hurry. And when somebody, like, even when you're talking, I can feel what you're feeling in that. So when I'm sitting in it's just definitely a side of empathy, isn't it? And I know when I'm sitting in the room with someone and they start talking to me about whatever's going on in their life, it's all in the conversation, the songs. And I want to, I want people to write songs that really mean something to them, because I think it changes how you sing it, how you live it, all of it. It's not disposable at that point. It's something like, this is me. I talk about writing one light songs that if somebody is singing that song and they only need one light, a white light, and you're understanding everything they're feeling because they're sharing something that's really important to them. You don't need all the lights. Some songs do, these ones don't, right?
Yeah.
And so when I'm writing with someone, I love the conversation, and I really invest in people I'm writing with. I meet with people usually before I write with them, and to see what they're like, because I'm going to be spending time. I'm going to learn everything I can about this person and be 100% invested in my heart in finding their song with them. And it's always interesting for me because I have all different people in front of me, and people say, what kind of music do you write? Well, it all depends on who's sitting in front of me.
Yeah, that's right. And,
I mean, it was.
Does that afford you the opportunity to kind of try on different things and try different things?
Well, I can be all these other things now. My first album, I was a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Are you country? Are you this? And now, my album now, that's 100% me right now. That's what I wanted to do. I don't have to be this. I don't have to be that. So when I have, for instance, I did some writing with a band called Excuses, which is kind of a metalish kind of band, I would say. They're pretty heavy. And I thought it was interesting. And I was talking to the record company, and they were going, oh yeah, we're all excited about this new band. And I'm like, oh, cool. And they're telling me about it. And they said, yeah, they're called Excuses. And I said, yeah, I know them. And they said, how do you know them? And I said, I've written 4 of the songs on that album. He's like, what? And he looks down, and sure enough, there's my name. And I mean, here's me, singing my songs. And so I love the diversity of that. I love that artists can shine through. It's not about me writing the song for them. It's sort of like guiding and going, okay, what about this? And well, I wouldn't do that like that, but it's cool if that's what you want to do. So I love that. I do. It's truly a huge part of my being.
Well, I've seen the other side of that, where you work closely with somebody, because we have someone in common in particular that's very special to us, Shannon Dukes, who's become a close friend. I know to me and to my family. She became, I first met her when she was my kid's music teacher. She's still my kid's music teacher. And we instantly hit it off. And, she's become such a good friend of the family. We consider her family. And, and you've worked with her. And, it's not as if I talk to her every day, but whenever I would ask her about the album she's working on or what she's doing, she always talks about you. She always, it's as if like you guys are, tied together. You're working so closely together. So I've seen that on the other side.
Yeah, it's great. And I mean, I love that. And Shannon and I, yes, we do a lot of work together. She's actually working right now on her album, which I wrote with her. And I mean, it was just wonderful finding all these songs with her. Because again, you go deep and get into, okay, what does this mean to you? Like, where was this and how did this happen? And it's great. And she's actually working with Will Scholar producing it, who's also the same producer for my album, and recording it at Kensington, and working with Ben Pelchet and just all of that, right?
Ben's great. Ben's been on this show a number of times.
Yeah.
I mean, you just rhymed off a number of really gifted people. I just love that circle that you all have there, and it's nice to hear. And I think that's what makes you all so gifted, is that you all help each other out. Hey, you know who you got to talk to, you know how you got to work with, and then you end up working together for like a couple of years. You know, it's a great circle you're a part of there.
And it's in the listening, right? We're all good listeners.
Yeah.
We all listen and have a great appreciation for whoever the artist is. We don't want to crowd them. You just sort of want to go, okay, how are we going to do this? You know? It's good.
There's something special about Kensington as well. It's a special place.
And 50 years
50 years. I know it's got this history.
50 years.
I've had so many. I've had great conversations with unbelievable people just by standing in the studio, just invited for a party, or, someone was recording and I got to hang out and just, nothing's happening, but we're talking, and it's like 3 hours goes by and you've heard these amazing stories. There's so much history seeping out of the walls.
Yeah. And there's depth. There's so much depth to it, right? Like I was recording there years ago, like in my 20s, I was doing demos and things there with my band, so I knew Vasey and Keith Mackay and, just everybody. It's great.
Yeah. Well, you're a part of that history. Check out rbtsong.com and her newest album, Sorry I'm Late. Rosanne Baker Thornley. It's been a long time coming. I really appreciate you taking some time. I look forward to our next conversation, either on air or off.
Me too.
And I really appreciate this, Rosanne. Thank you so much, and congratulations on the album.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
Please don't wait until 2051 for your next album. Okay? We need more, all right?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Rosanne. Appreciate it. I'm Jeff Sammut, SiriusXM, Canada Talks, Channel 167.
Sorry I'm late, but there's 1,000 things I had to do today, and another 1,000 things that I would love to chase that have to wait. Sorry I'm late. Had a stack of bills I had to pay. My 25 years I know that saved me. Had a moment there where I kinda wanted, thought I had enough time, but it took longer. I got caught on another road and the clock didn't stop, and I got older. There were years there where I lost a page, had a